First, I'd like to thank Pastor Leroy Scott for allowing me to partake and present the proclamation for Pastoral Care Week. It's an honor for me. I'm deeply humbled and by this request to present the proclamation. Many of you may not know me, and many of you may have seen me while you're caring for the hospice patients or have come to my office for meetings. If that's the case, you've noted that I honor all religions and all faiths. If you've been in my office, you'll see that I put all different religions, all different faiths on a bookshelf that speaks about different levels of resilience. But what you may not know about me is that I've been fortunate enough to spend a considerable amount of time in India, in Europe, in the West Indies, and in a Trappist monastery. And I've worked with many people of all faiths, all religions, that selflessly have dedicated their lives for others. As medical director, actually for VNA for a number of years, I worked alongside of Melvina Williams, which I'm sure many of you know. She's dear to my heart. She always has been, and she still is, and she's someone that I admire and I respect. When I heard about the merger with Holy Redeemer, I was a bit concerned. And then after some reasoning and some reflection of past experiences, I was kind of delighted, and I'll explain why. You see, many years ago, I was at the Abbey of the Genesee in Peffard, New York. And that's where I spent time with my dear spiritual guide and teacher. His name was Reverend John Hughes, or John Bamberger. His spiritual name was John Hughes, from St. John Hughes. And he was very close to Thomas Merton. And I don't know if you ever heard of Thomas Merton, but Thomas Merton wrote the book Seven Storey Mountain, and he was he was involved with Vatican II, where in the church it was originally in Latin, and he requested that there be, the singing and bringing the church, bringing the people into a different level. While spending time in a contemplative order, I read about many saints and those that were considered servants of God. And I remembered one special individual who selflessly cared for those in need. Her desire to practice a contemplative life and her ability to effortlessly give gifts of patience, diligence, generosity, and wisdom to those that are suffering. Through hardship, she attained the compassion and the contemplation of the nature of what I understand today as Christ consciousness. Well, maybe I learned this through spending the time in the monastery, but the Christ consciousness is the ability to be able to be resilient and to go through obstacles for a particular purpose. This individual was Mother Alphonse Maria Effinger. She was born in Niederbronn, a small village in France. Mother Alphonse Maria would later be called the Mystic of Niederbronn. I don't know if any of you know that, but that's, I studied about her, which is kind of interesting, in the Abbey before I even came here. So that's why it was kind of interesting to hear about this merger. She actually founded the Congregation of the Daughters of the Divine Redeemer in 1849. Her reasoning for such quest was to take care of the poor and the needy, especially to care the poor and the sick in their homes. And that's what all of you do. We are actually taking care of those that are in need and end of life in their home. Through a most difficult life, at the age of 3, she not only observed her family and small community hardships, but she found solitude in the contemplation about the resilience of which Christ suffered and found strength in his redemption. In other words, by Christ's selfless, virtuous actions, she believed he greatly compensated for the multitude of non-virtuous and bad actions that were presented in the world around him. It was a compensation. So what you see around you and your obstacles, you're actually offering them to compensate for people that can't reach that level. So when you suffer. And I believe it was this strength that enabled Mother Alphonse Maria to endure the suffering as a child and later the suffering of her own personal illness, as she believed that contemplative prayer and the ministry of exercising Christ's compassion to others was the answer to her calling. I'm not sure if many of you are aware of the contemplative prayer, or the contemplative aspects of the sisters or the monks or the priests, but the ability when you reflect or you contemplate, that's a form of developing wisdom or understanding. And then the ministry is essentially the compassion or the action for what you have contemplated. After reading her life story at the Abbey, I was amazed how she was able to begin such a great ministry while going through her personal suffering. And at the same time, she never left the village in France. So that was pretty powerful. Many of you may not know, but Mother Alphonse Maria is the foundress of Holy Redeemer Healthcare Systems. And it is a wonderful blessing today that we can speak of her legacy. And to me, it's I've spoken about Mother Teresa in the past, and Mother Teresa has reached sainthood, and it was always a thought to me about Mother Alphonse Maria about sainthood, and she hasn't reached it yet, but we're hoping that maybe she will. But it's amazing to me that I'm able to speak about her. That's kind of a miracle on its own. So, and I'm able to speak about her after being in an abbey in the 1990s, and not thinking I would ever even be being a medical director for a hospice center that actually honors her. It's like, so that's a miracle. Maybe we should send that to the Pope. So pastoral care began in 1987, and in the 1990s it grew as an international celebration. And now in its 31st year with its theme of spiritual resilience. Who would be a greater example than the expressions of spiritual resilience than Mother Alphonse Maria? Especially her resilience was so strong that we're here. That's pretty resilient. As medical director, I would say the overall Holy Redeemer staff that I have encountered work harmoniously for the care of those in need, acting as spokes of a wheel of the virtues of wisdom, which is contemplation, or the contemplative nature, and selflessness, which is actually the ministry, the actions. I have found that each and every staff to be very caring, working together for a common good, withstanding the many obstacles, and alleviating the pain of the misfortunate, assisting in hardships that are part of the suffering and the nature of this human life that we're all eventually going through and going to go through. Such actions, I believe, were the original intentions of the foundress, Mother Alphonse Maria, who has expressed great courage and selflessness during her life to assist those in need of protection, especially as you do at the end of life. Whether working in the community with patients or assisting our fellow caregivers, we begin to see that we are all interdependent upon each other, and we're all perishable. And it's these simple actions of generosity, of patience, reflection, that all you have displayed toward our patients and to each other, that's actually a delight for me to see as a medical director. Today, as I read this proclamation, I honor the foundress of the Sisters of Holy Redeemer and each and every one of you. All your hard work and effortless, compassionate actions, treating the whole person really as a person, is truly a noble mission that is the root and the meaning of one's true purpose in life. You can't get better than that, the work that all of you are doing. That's the key. I believe all of you here today are gifted spiritual caregivers on a glorious mission. Today I give sincere honor and deep respect to each and every one of you. As medical director, I've heard your concerns, and I've heard from your diverse backgrounds. This, I believe, has promoted with Holy Redeemer in our short time of being involved with home care, an exhilarating growth for Holy Redeemer home care and hospice. And I believe that each and every one of you have brought a gentle and kind human spirit to this organization. In 1853, hold on, be resilient. It's not going to get too heavy. There was a famous physician from Mother Alphonse Maria's village. His name was Dr. Jean Con. He wrote about the sisters, and this is what he wrote during the time of, I don't know if any of you heard this, but this is what he wrote. He wrote, "Not only do these pious sisters look after the sick, giving them great care through perseverance day and night as they expose themselves to all sorts of contagious attacks and put up with all sorts of unpleasant things, but going into the hovels of the poor, they also bring them the consolation of religion and faith. They repay bad manners with kindness, and they introduce cleanliness where hitherto it was neither known nor appreciated, while also teaching children in these out-of-the-way small towns where there is neither a teacher or a school. In my eyes, this congregation is therefore a great benefit for the poor who are sick, as well as an instrument that civilizes people and provides them with religious morality and good virtues." And I think many of you in this room can relate to that. Therefore, today, join me as we acknowledge, first, the role of our chaplain, Pastor Leroy Scott of Holy Redeemer, for his spiritual resilience, as I have personally observed his ability to harmonize all faiths and beliefs as he goes into the homes with the patients, and effortlessly give his level best not only to patients but also to staff. And I can vouch, he has calmed me down at times. And I think people, many of you that have been in meetings, know that I get a little persistent about specific things. And then to Holy Redeemer's nursing staff and their unlimited, continuous, selfless actions, which I see at every one of the meetings. They go to each and every home and they take care, they do the home care and the hospice. They go through so many obstacles. The social service, the obstacles, the things that they have to deal with, and the dilemmas that come up, they have to be resilient, and they have to develop different levels of resilience. But they do a wonderful job. And to the Holy Redeemer's administration and office staff that has the ability to adapt with the advancements and the government regulations that enable all of us to fulfill our daily duties to patient care. And to Holy Redeemer's home health aides, their blessing. And the volunteers who support and maintain a nurturing atmosphere that makes every obstacle a familiar home. When I go into those homes with those aides in there, they're wonderful. So please join me in proclaiming and celebrating October 16th to the 22nd as Pastoral Care Week, and the theme Spiritual Resilience, which we all witnessed and participate in, with memory, and hopefully the Pope can hear this, of Mother Alphonse Maria Effinger, and special attention to Holy Redeemer, Pastor Leroy Scott, and all of you for your hard and measurable work. Thank you.